Welcome back to Packernet. JJ Leahy, Ryan Schlip, and Jake Shavink. We're going to be talking about the current state of the Packers, sort of reacting to, I guess, where we think the team is post win over the Panthers, pre Vikings Bears streak. I got to bring up the honorary idiot of the week, though.
Oh, boy.
I heard Andy Herman say that the worst thing you could do right now. No, he said the last thing you'd want to do to Jordan Love right now is to swap offensive schemes and give him a different play caller. Which is just, the last thing you want to do to Jordan Love is like kill him, torture him, cut off his arms, that kind of stuff. So I just, I like Andy, but his priorities are way messed up if he's got that.
Better he die.
According to Andy Herman, quote Andy Herman. So there you go. So last week, as we were trying to get out of here,
yes,
I proposed creative ways to kill Joe Barry. Are you guys still out?
Bringing this back up?
Are you still out on that?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was reading too old for this already with The Office, so I missed the question.
Matt LaFleur is being Creed as manager when we need Childs Minor at the moment.
All I'm hearing is Bo Body.
No, here's what it is. It's that was it David Wallace who put Creed in charge? Because Joe Barry is Creed. Joe Barry's the one.
I think it was what's her name from Florida?
Yeah, you're right, Joe.
Joe.
It was Joe. So Joe,
she wanted to go with
Matt
the most
LaFleur
senior
because Joe Barry is Creed. Yeah.
What does the first B stand for?
It's such a great scene because it's not even like he took a word and was trying to discover what it could be.
Oh,
there's nothing about it that made sense. This. Nothing about it. I wanted to share this because it made me just laugh way too hard for how stupid it was. This is shared by Wendell Ferreira. I'm sharing my screen here. This is Nick Mullins next week. Hear ye, hear ye. I'm Joe Montana. It was just too stupid.
That's really good. That's really good.
And we've got 3 possible quarterbacks who could be trotting out there next week. Could be Nick Mullins, could be Josh Dobbs again, or it could be Jaron Hall. And I put a poll up on Twitter and I said,
doesn't matter.
I said, would you rather face Patrick Mahomes this week or Jaron Hall? And then I said, yeah, I picked Mahomes as well. And like last time I checked, there was like 100 votes and it was like 70% for Mahomes. So yeah, we got 110 votes. 68.2% said they'd rather play Mahomes this week than Jaron Hall. And I even in the Jaron Hall vote, I put Jaron Hall. Who?
I voted for Mahomes.
Did you
as well? Yes. Yeah, I did.
It's the correct answer.
It is. I don't know how
it's right.
Yeah, it is right.
Well, and not only that, I was actually more scared when I found out they didn't know who their quarterback was going to be.
Oh my gosh!
Like, oh no, that makes it so much worse. Yeah. We're gonna get killed now.
And this isn't a new thing either. Like, it's not like we're just caught up in the moment. It's the Packers have always kind of been this.
Yeah,
which was why I picked the Packers to lose to the Giants, even though the week before I had picked them to beat the Chiefs and had picked them to beat the Lions before that. So, I said that those 3 quarterbacks should be like begging on their knees. Please give me this start and let me prove to you.
Talk about what's going to be just an electric week of practice.
They're all
QBs are going out there just slinging it, man. They're looking for their Matt. Be the guy.
They're looking for their Matt Flynn moment. They're going to crush the Packers and then just get some massive contract for some team to be the starter and something. Yeah, they're all looking for their moment.
So I don't think, and the voting might already be closed. They may have already announced it, but I don't think that Bryce Young is going to win NFC Offensive Player of the Week or Air Player of the Week, whatever it is. But he was top 3 in voting.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah. Could have gone for the Joe Barry 3-peat, but the suck of Bryce Young was just enough to outweigh the suck of Joe Barry.
It's actually a shame, to be honest. If I could have voted, I would have been all over. I would have voted 10 times for the guy.
Speaking of shameful voting, so Brock Purdy threw 4 interceptions and then got benched, and they're saying that it was like a medical precaution or whatever, but it was certainly not garbage time. It was a 14-point game with almost 5 minutes left in the game, and Sam Darnold was still out there, and I just was just kind of enjoying. I'm not like praying for the downfall of Brock Purdy, but I just am enjoying that the MVP frontrunner conversation with Purdy is over. And you know what? If you want to stoke it back up again next year, sure, fine. But just it was so dumb this year.
Yeah, I mean, I actually looked into that this year. Nobody's going to want to hear my answer because it's going to just equally upset people. But the thing that's so stupid about it is value is quantifiable. We can see it. There are statistics that measure value. And so I just looked at the statistics that measure value, and the answer is Pat Mahomes. That's the answer. He's the MVP. So, period, end of story.
Good enough for me.
Yeah.
I still want, like, I think this is the year, like, with all of the quarterbacks just not looking right. Like, this is clearly the year for a non-QB MVP. Because there's years when it's like, okay, 2019, it has to be Lamar. And there's something wrong with you.
Yeah,
sure.
If you go a different direction, 2018 had to be Mahomes. But like, this is the year, like, I think it's Tyreek Hill or Christian McCaffrey. Not that I want to see either of those guys win MVP, but
right.
I'm also tired of it being a QB only award. I just think that they need to rename it because, like, you don't have this problem in college. In college, right, it's the Heisman, and the MVP is the NFL Heisman, and we all know that.
Yeah.
But because it's named most valuable player, people will get hung up on the definition of value, and then you get into like, well, is he the most valuable to his team? Yeah. We know what it is. It's the NFL Heisman. So just rename it.
Yeah, just pick a freak player and just name it that. Like, don't even call it, I've said, like, let's call it most exceptional player, which would fix that problem.
Yeah.
But don't even do that. Just like you said, just pick anybody that was freaking awesome. Call it the Reggie White Award or something, and then just give it to the most exceptional player. And you're right, it's not a quarterback this year. It's not even close. It's probably going to be Tyreek Hill if I had to pick, or McCaffrey or Watt or somebody, but it's not a quarterback.
And I would even accept, like, I want this change so badly. I would even accept renaming it after Tom Brady or Peyton Manning. I don't even care. Call it the Manning Award. I don't care.
It just gets confusing if you make it a quarterback is my only issue.
Yeah. They could, they could go the college route, I guess, if they wanted to. Like, it makes sense, right? You give the best running back, an award. Like, McCaffrey would get an award this year. Hill would get an award this year. But like, if you're even gonna think about going the QB route,
what if you call it the Lawrence Taylor?
Yes,
you could.
The LT award.
Yeah, and then you could, whichever LT you want it to be. That's the award.
Danian Tomlinson would be great as well.
Yeah, like, but I think if they went like QB, I don't know if there's anyone like adding I mean, you said, Ryan, that the numbers point to Mahomes, and I think that's very fair considering how just ludicrously bad their tackles are, and their receivers just love to make boneheaded things happen every week.
Yeah.
Allen is kind of dragging his team back into like relevance almost. It feels like that they're just
he's up there
dragged, and it feels like without Stafford. I mean, we saw the Packer game when the Rams play without Stafford. Goodness, they don't look like a team out there.
Yep.
Like he would, I think, be very much in that conversation. He is playing at a really elevated level this year. He's really driving them home. Like they're pretty much, I think, going to probably clinch a playoff spot this week. And if they didn't have Stafford on that team, goodness sakes, like we're like, all right, so Williams or May, like that's what we're talking about with them. So Yeah, I think if Tyreek somehow, I know he's got 2 weeks left and he's got some work to do. If he gets anywhere close to 2,000, I feel like you probably got to give it to him.
Yeah.
But yeah, the award is it's gonna be interesting just to see where the voters are kind of, which way they lean. Because I'm sure if Prescott has 2 good weeks to finish the year, they might still look that direction. Which I don't know.
Too old for this. Says Jaron Hall is short for Hall of Fame game against Barry.
I did see somebody post something like that. I didn't get it at first. I was like, should just call it Jaron Hall of Fame or something like that. And I was like, what the heck does that mean? Now I get it.
I did Google greatest NFL players of all time because I wanted to think like, okay, get the quarterbacks out of the way. Who are like the greatest players, from a bygone era that we call it. And Google is not sorting this in an order that makes for good NFL PR. So the very first suggestion they have is
I'm sure
Brown.
Yep.
They also have O.J. Simpson.
Sure.
So I did stop reading after that. I thought we didn't want to get any more hot water, but
sure.
Wonder if the robot can do better.
The Hernandez,
the O.J. Simpson Award for most exceptional player.
I want to make a joke, and I'm not going to.
Man,
Ray Lewis Award.
I'm not gonna say what it came to mind as a joke.
I'm trying to think. Now I'm trying to think of a really inappropriate joke, and I can't quite get there.
All right. Here we go. Who was it? I lost it. Chris says, Ryan, love the Jair Matt LaFleur pod today. Finally, someone thinks about things in a normal way. So, can we get into that? So this is the whole thing about the locker room just kind of being out of control. And so I do think we should have a referendum here on Matt LaFleur because of
Clayton's in on it too.
His team.
Did he get it? Oh, I see it. Yeah, there he is.
Yeah. Save it for the live chat. They can, if you're here, you get to see it. We're not.
Jake threw it in the private chat, and you just about got it there, Clayton. That's pretty close.
I did.
It's amazing.
Sorry,
we're gonna have to hand the early derailer of the week award to Clayton because
well, there's a lot of ball game left, but yeah, so far.
Yeah, there is.
Oh man, we got a contender
Blaine
coming
in the chat.
Well,
maybe Blaine says maybe Matt LaFleur is like, it doesn't matter if I fire him now because everyone is fired at the end of the year. Don't talk like that, Blaine. Listen. Our next 2 games are the Vikings and the Bears, and I desperately want to beat both of those 2 teams. And if we do, we are in prime position to then go play the Lions again.
You think so?
I think so. I would really like to.
Going to be not Philly?
Sweep all 3 of them.
That's true. Philly is kind of.
Because I think Green Bay's going to be
having a moment,
probably.
Whatever. It does.
Which, be great to beat whoever.
Strangely enough, I thought the Lions were probably the only playoff team that we'd end up beating, and we'd get a chance to play them and beat them and then lose. You might be right. It might be Philly, and we'll probably beat them and then lose.
Well, if you beat them, you know where you're going. So you're going out west again.
Now, actually, think about this. Jordan Love talked after the Chiefs game about how much that game meant to him and the opportunity to get revenge on the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Eagles, man. That Eagles game where he almost had that comeback.
Yeah.
And
maybe I could try to work that angle.
And our incredible defense coughed it up at the end there in that Eagles game.
Listen, to win 40-33 instead of losing 40-33 on Wild Card Weekend sounds pretty good.
I'd take winning 40-39 even.
That's fine too.
Dub is a dub.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about Matt LaFleur because assuming that he does not give Joe Barry an extension, which I don't know if that's 100% safe to assume.
It's not.
How much do we trust Matt LaFleur to hire Joe Barry's replacement, given his track record at hiring coordinators? So I think that the decision to retain Mike Pettin when he was first hired, totally defensible. I liked Mike Pettin. I think you could make compelling arguments in either direction about the decision to move on from Mike Pettin when he did. Regardless, replacing him with Joe Barry wasn't a great move. I don't think that his backup candidates, or I should say his preferred candidates over Joe Barry, were terribly thrilling. You have the special teams trio now of Sean Menenga was a bad hire. Promoting Mo Drayton was a much worse hire. And Rich Bisaccia has come here and had two pretty underwhelming seasons in a row here. Is that Rich's fault? Is that the roster's fault? I think there's some shared blame there. But certainly it hasn't been the home run that we were hoping it would be. And when you look at the offensive coordinators, really, really, really hard to say one way or the other because it's Matt LaFleur's offense and he's the one calling the plays. I don't know how much credit or blame you can assign for successes and failures to his coordinators, but it certainly is indisputable that Nathaniel Hackett has not had a success anywhere else. So it leaves me very skeptical and nervous about him trying to replace Joe Barry. And that's not an argument for keeping Joe Barry. But it is to say, I think at a minimum, Matt LaFleur has to improve in a few areas. And one of those is how he hires people. His process for hiring coordinators has to get better. Has to. Jake, any thoughts from you?
Yeah, I mean, I think really quick on Bisaccia, I mean, and also giving him that much money to be like we need you here, like this much money, and just to not have any really, improvements per se like that. You have to bring that into question. Like I think at least with like the roster and then their willingness to add some guys that they go, yeah, this person's playing special teams, and to just not get much out of it is concerning. As far as LaFleur with hiring decision making, man, yeah, it's going to be tough. I don't know. I just don't know what he's going to be like. This is going to be a very, very interesting offseason. And maybe not, and probably not for the reasons we thought. Like there was obviously the biggest question I think this year was answered.
Yeah.
Probably. I'm like 80-ish% there on that. Like it seems like Jordan Love has it. And I know there's going to be some inconsistencies, but I mean, just watching him like throw off his back foot on like dig routes to guys is just kind of just stupid. but it's very exciting. And I think just to see his growth with decision making pre and post snap getting better is awesome. So like I think that question was answered. The rest of it now is the current like trio in place, right? The Murphy, Gutekunst, and LaFleur trio. Like there has to be some communication on like, okay, like I know that they both report to Murphy, but there has to be, I think, more communication there in terms of like, okay, like all three need to sit down and be like, all right, like, listen, Matt, like we can't just keep going after your buddies with hiring. And Gutekunst has to be very clear about what his direction is defensively right now. Like in terms of what they're going to be scouting, like they have to be on the same page with, okay, this is a player we want at corner, safety, or whatever position, right? Like I think they can handle things on like the offensive front. It's very clear that the synergy is there offensively, right? With how Goody has drafted the last two drafts, how LaFleur's been able to use these guys. It's working out really well. The problem is there's so much disconnect on defense. You watch a player like Lucas Van Ness, who they add first half of the season, he's rushing upright. He's in a 2-point stance. Why are we doing that? Took half the season to realize, okay, he's probably better in the dirt. And now you see him playing better. Why? Most of his snaps, he's in the 3-point stance. Like, how is that communication not there when you drafted the player? How is that not there right away? And so to me, like defensively now, you have to Gutekunst and LaFleur have to be on the same page with this hire. I don't care if that kind of breaks the whatever like the thing they have set up. It doesn't matter now. You are potentially looking at 3 quarterbacks in a row that can get you to the promised land now. There's no excuse. Like you have to figure this out. And I think they all have, and I believe that they all have this. They all have that sort of clock in their minds about 2025. Because right, like Murphy goes like, could everybody go? Right, leading up to that eventual retirement. Like they have to get something right here with just how everything is coming together defensively. And we've seen, and I get it, it predates some of this as well with the coach and GM, right? I think the last one where you felt like, when's the last time you felt really confident in like the defense and maybe just the team as a whole? Probably has to be 2014. Like I know the defense was good under Pettin for one of the seasons, and he got a lot out of Zadarius Smith. But like when it's felt complete, it was 2014. So I just there has to be everybody has to be on the same page. It can't just be LaFleur going, yeah, I want to bring this guy in, and he doesn't talk to Goody about it at all. Like that has to change to me. The structure has to change.
Yeah, I think you covered most of my thoughts on it. The biggest one being, first of all, I don't know to what extent Matt LaFleur dominated that decision. Was that 100% Matt LaFleur and everybody else just didn't care? Or could that have been like 50-50? Did they provide Matt LaFleur a list and he picked from 2 or 3? Or did maybe Matt LaFleur provided a list? I don't know what the communications were. Maybe for all I know, Gutekunst was pushing back. I don't know. Probably not, but I don't know the extent of that. Yeah. But I do think you're right that there has to be more. If nothing else, there needs to be more of a forceful voice from the guys up top saying, we're going to help inform this decision a little bit. Because to be honest, without knowing exactly how these things work, I do trust Gutekunst and Mark Murphy to make these decisions, because the last time we know that they did, it was Matt LaFleur, which was a good decision in my opinion. And the entire decision was predicated on, we are going to look across the NFL. We're going to find out what is working, what is the best thing, what is killing everybody. And then we're going to find the biggest young up-and-coming wizard in this scheme, and we're going to go get him. That's what I want for defense. What is the number one defensive scheme that's dominating? Great. Who are the young up-and-coming guys that are freaking wizards that are either a part of this or running this or whatever? I don't want some guy that's been kind of dabbling in this for 20 years, like working under Fangio and all these other guys who have been doing it to moderate success. No, I want the young, really intelligent guys who are fast risers that are going to get this thing done. Aside from that, though, I just, again, I think that there are some other variables involved. Like, for example, with Mike Pettin, I think Pettin was hired largely because Matt LaFleur had no head coaching experience and needed somebody to lean on. So that was a variable that didn't exist as much with Joe Barry. And so things change over time. And even if you look at the Rich Bisaccia thing, I think, we had a period of time where it was like, we tried things that didn't work, and then we got to the point where we said, you know what, let's just hire the most obvious guy. Like, come on, it's sitting right in front of your face. That's the best hire. Pay him whatever he wants, and let's get him in here. And there needs to be that element as well, I think, because I think there are going to be some obvious guys. JJ, I know you talked about there have been some obvious candidates that we passed on in the past, and we shouldn't be doing that. And I think if those obvious candidates are there, those are the guys you have to go get. And let's not be too cute. Let's not be overthinking this thing. If there's a right candidate, pay them whatever they want and get them in here to coach the defense.
Yeah, and I think, an example staring us right in the face right now, we're about to go play against Brian Flores, who was available a year ago when it was already kind of clear that the Joe Barry experience needed to end. A year ago, we knew that. And I was not somebody who was clamoring to go hire Brian Flores, but a lot of other people were. And there was kind of no doubt that he knew what he was doing. Went in, it's the exact same players that Minnesota has had for forever. Turned it around. Dudes who were playing that garbage have been playing great. It can be done. It can be that simple. And there's guys out there every year. Maybe not every year, but most years there's a Brian Flores out there. And I mean, heck, Mike Zimmer is out there. I don't think that he probably would be willing to come coach under Matt LaFleur.
I don't think so.
Don't think I want him.
I'm just saying, there's guys
honest.
every year who are options, and this is a great quote from Tyler Dershel, which is the bigger disconnect right now: the drafted defensive players with our scheme, or Ghost not sponsoring the live stream for JJ. Yeah, I had to switch. I'm drinking coconut water tonight because I'm tired of getting spurned by Ghost.
Yep, I did the same thing. I switched it up to bubbly because screw those guys.
I've also switched it up.
See, dude, bubbly is good. We in our household we rotate. We do LaCroix, bubbly, and Aha. We rotate through those three.
Okay.
Every shopping.
We got another one. I don't know what the heck it's called, but it's not bad. But this I got the orange cream. It's like a freaking creamsicle.
Yeah.
Dang, man.
Okay.
That's a very good one. The flavor, you got to check and see during the summer if they sell the watermelon bubbly near you, because they don't carry it near me anymore. And when I go on road trips, I'm always stopping at stores and looking to see if I can find it anywhere. And I'll pick up a case and take it home with me because they're really, really good. Adam says, no more old retread DCs. Get a young, energetic ex-player type for DC. I'm all about it. I am. And yeah, I think it was just a week ago, Ryan, you were going through the whole list of the Ravens guys that we need to be looking at. I'm 100% in for sure. I will say I do get tired of hearing, Wade Phillips and Rex Ryan thrown around. Like, I don't think we need to keep going back to that well. And I'm also not interested in Jim Leonard, but there are some experienced dudes and some young dudes who are available. Do we already talk about Al Harris from Jared? Do you guys have thoughts on Al Harris? I have thoughts, but I have a strong suspicion you guys can rant on that equally as well.
I know for a fact I looked at Al Harris and I do not remember what my conclusions were. So I think it was mostly just that there's a lot to like. So I like that he's an ex-player. I like that he played for championship teams and high quality organizations that were well run and well coached. So he knows what that looks like. I like that he was a good player. And the fact that he was a player and can speak to players on the players level. I like who he's working under right now. Very, highly qualified individual that has run one of the best defenses in the modern era. And I like the fact that his particular position is doing well, as far as what he's doing. So, I mean, there's always going to be question marks, but I don't think there's really anything that I can look at as far as Al Harris and be like, I don't know. That makes me nervous. There's unknowns, but there's nothing really that I can look at face value and just say, I don't like that.
I think my only reservation was I would love to see him be a passing game coordinator first.
Sure.
I would like to see how that goes because I think a lot of, the second level, third level stuff is obviously what's killing this defense right now. More so than the pass rush, which I know there's been issues there. But I'd want to see him do that for a defense first, because I think that will breed ideas of like, okay, how do I get this unit that has consistently been a problem, no matter who's kind of trotted out there? This is my solution. This is what I've seen be solutions, with the guy, that I've worked under and I've looked around the league as well. Someone who has, brought to the interview going, okay, I've looked at a lot of this. I looked at Baltimore. I see what we're doing down here in Dallas. Like this is how I think it can be fixed. So I'm not totally out. I just think I'd be more in if I saw like, okay, there's been success here as a passing game coordinator.
Waterloo was the other one. I couldn't think of what the name was that I got, but there you go. That was Waterloo.
Tyler Dershel brought up Poppy, which I have currently right now.
Man,
I have had Waterloo. My father-in-law sometimes brings a case up from downstate, but I can't buy it anywhere around where I live. But I have enjoyed it. My thing with Harris is just the inexperience and just like the complete lack of anything to suggest that he can be a defensive coordinator. He was an assistant defensive backs coach as recently as 2018, took 2019 off, and then got hired to be a defensive backs coach in 2020 and has been doing that for almost 3 full years now. and it's just a little raw for me. I would like to have some more confidence that he knows what he's doing than just that. And I do like the whole former player thing, but I'm always just very wary of the, whole like Wisconsin ties thing. Like, oh, let's get a badge, let's get a former Packer, whatever, because I just don't know that I trust the hiring process that much to be like, hey, we're definitely not looking at this guy through rose-colored lenses and missing any obvious faults or seeing things better than they are. It just makes me nervous. It wouldn't disqualify a guy, but to me it's not in the plus column that he has the Green Bay Packers ties. I don't see that as a benefit that outweighs any possible disadvantageous bias in the hiring process.
I think all things being perfectly equal, it's kind of cool, but other than that, it's really nothing. The other thing that I would mention, it's kind of funny. I was just looking at this today with the MVP thing, trying to figure out first of all, I was trying to see if anybody even comes close in value to a quarterback, and the answer is no. But outside of that, who would you pick? A name popped up on defense that stunned me, and it's like I had no idea that this person was even having a good season, and it's Deron Bland, Dallas cornerback. And again, to his credit, and I looked at it, sure enough, 8 interceptions this season, which is significantly more than anybody else, as well as 6 pass breakups and a 46.5 passing grade, second highest graded corner in the NFL right now. So the only reason, again, obviously I bring that up is because I didn't know that was a thing, but, secondary coach or whatever his title is for Dallas, there you go. So he is doing it, in my opinion, a pretty good job. I mean, Deron Bland, even, he went from a 66th grade last year, kind of a nobody as a 5th round pick, to one of the best corners in football right now. So,
and my answer on this has been like, I would love to go hire Al Harris as our pass game coordinator.
Right.
And then let him work his way up a little bit.
Sure.
But just to immediately put him in charge of the entire defense, why would we assume that he knows how to do that?
Right.
That it just makes me nervous.
Yeah.
And to your point about like, all else being equal, I think it's a little bit like, that Jonathan Owens is married to Simone Biles. Like, would you ever sign him to come play cornerback because of that? Heck no. But then it's very cool that he is married to Simone Biles. I love that perk. It would never impact my decision to put him on the football team.
And but the other thing too is, I mean, what you're saying applies to every non-former defensive coordinator.
Right.
Which is again, that does make me nervous too with everybody, even the Ravens guys. Like, it makes me nervous because some guys just can't do it. But at the same time, if you're going to know, the only way you find that next great defensive coordinator is to hire someone that's never been a former defensive coordinator. And if you're just going to go with retreads, you're just going to be getting, I mean, you can get good. There are good retreads for sure, but you're not going to find that next great defensive coordinator. So that's a negative.
And people on Twitter have kind of, taken my answer and gone the wrong direction with it, of like, oh, so you want to only hire a former defensive coordinator. No, I'm not saying that. I want a guy who you have reason to believe he knows what he's doing. He's a smart guy, has been in a scheme for a long time, understands the scheme and understands how to pull the whole defense together, that understands all the other responsibilities of being a defensive coordinator besides just coaching cornerbacks. Like, it's a huge job.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to scout opponents and game plan and plan out practices and manage other coaches. It's so much more than just, oh, he's good at coaching cornerbacks. So that's where my reservation with Al Harris comes in, is that 4 years ago he was an assistant defensive backs coach. 3 years ago he was not coaching. That's where my concern comes in with Al Harris. And I'm not ruling him out. I'm just these are my red flags with him.
Right, 100%.
Yeah, and I think the one thing about like the risk of going with position coaches who are starting on the rise is again, we've talked about this as well with coaches, is like some coaches just work out better as coordinators their entire career, right? That might be what Brandon Staley is, right? In LA, like, it just didn't work out there. Some guys just might be good position coaches and just really don't have the full scope of being a defensive coordinator. That's
you can
the
make a
really
compelling
tough
argument
thing.
that Matt LaFleur is just an offensive coordinator.
You could, yeah, and
I'd like to see him be more than that, but you could make a compelling argument
for sure. I think you can. So that's the tough part about this, right? And it's not easy, right? This is, but at the same time, kind of going the retread like best friend, like, okay, this guy's just kind of doing potentially what, has sometimes worked. It's hard. It's hard when you have guys that are kind of following some direction in like some scheme, because are they going to be as good as the 1.0? Like, is anybody going to be as good as Fangio doing Fangio stuff?
Right.
It hasn't worked out that way. Right. Like, you've seen Miami kind of figure things out a little bit more defensively as they've kind of gone down the stretch. They've gotten some players back. Just feels like everybody who else, and people have looked at that on Twitter as well, that it's just not like the tree itself is not working. Like, the original is still figuring it out a bit more. But like, just guys who go, yeah, I'll just run this. Like, this has worked. And I get it. It was kind of the same thing as, right, like hiring LaFleur was kind of like, okay, this type of thing is what's breaking defenses right now. But again, it's not foolproof, right? It's not perfect. So that's what's going to make this very difficult. But, if you get this right, and I think somebody said it, where is it? Mike Hebring said it. I mean, it could define LaFleur's legacy, because I think everybody will point out, what, like, the decision making as far as like coaches under him and things like playing off the bye and playing with extended rest, like all of that could be like the legacy of LaFleur if he gets this wrong.
I don't know why that made me laugh so much. Mike Hebring said it, and I drink milk.
I just
nailed
like the
it,
timing
Mike.
that Jake's like, well, Mike Hebring said this. It was just brilliant. And Ryan puts up drink milk on the screen by Mike.
Puts up what he said previously. Yeah.
I think that Adam had it right. And I saw Clayton kind of said something along the same lines here. Hire one of the Ravens guys. We'll say hire Chris Hewitt and then hire Al Harris as the pass game coordinator. Boom. And I'll add to that. Restructure Rich Bisaccia's terms of employment and say, listen, here's the deal. For every penalty on special teams, it's $5,000 coming off of your paycheck.
Nice.
For every missed tackle, $2,000.
Fined for bad special teams plays. I like it.
But I really like what Adam's saying here, because it's kind of what the other thing I've mentioned is, it seems like, so we get another defensive coordinator, and a lot of times it's like, okay, we're good now. No, we're not. You have to go through every single position, and what I expect of you is to find the absolute best you can. Now, granted, Al Harris might not want to come over. Like, he's in a good spot. He might be trying to rise the ranks right there, but you make that phone call and you make him a very, very good offer to come and be the pass game coordinator here. Then you do the same for linebackers and for run game coordinators and everything else. You find these type of people and ask them if they want to take that promotion. Just find the absolute best guys you can. And same with, like we said with Baltimore, bring over some of those Baltimore guys. I don't want a defensive coordinator that comes over and we, aside from maybe a couple pieces where they bring some guys just stay. No, I mean, unless this is the absolute best possible position, which I'm pretty sure nobody that we have on staff right now is the best possible coach, I don't know why we wouldn't hire everybody else. So, yes, Al Harris should absolutely be getting that call along with a bunch of other really 100%. Talented coaches.
Yeah.
I mean, you run through our defensive coaching staff. In my opinion, completely inexcusable to bring back Jerry Montgomery. He's got to be out of here.
Right.
I'm pretty close to done with Kirk Olivadotti. I would not throw a tantrum if we retained him, but I'm ready to move on.
Yeah.
Ryan Downard's got to go. I don't think Greg Williams was a good hire. I didn't think he was a good hire at the time. Has not been a great cornerback season.
Yeah.
I think that Jason Rebrovich is the guy that I don't really care one way or the other. I think he's been fine, not outstanding.
Yep.
And if Matt LaFleur, or I should say not Matt LaFleur, if the new defensive coordinator wants to retain Jason, I'm fine with it. I'm also fine with moving on from him. But other than Jason, I want basically all these defensive coaches out of here.
Certainly anybody having anything to do with the coverage defense, like Greg Williams or Ryan Downard, zero chance they get to stay after what we've been watching, especially the last couple of weeks.
And Jared Montgomery, just making sure everybody knows I'm anti Jared Montgomery for the record.
If anybody who watches the show should be very familiar with that. I think you've definitely said that, and you're hammering the point home, which is good. But like, yeah, it's.
I mean, even if you're not as down on the defensive line as JJ is, he's also the run game coordinator. So let's just be completely honest. There is absolutely no excuse whatsoever to keep him when he is responsible for stopping the run.
Yeah.
Enough said. Too old for this. I just want Steve Belichick for the mullet and overall air of Joe Dirtness. I feel like we already have that in Royce Newman, though. Like, isn't Royce just a heavy Joe Dirt?
He feels a little fake to me. I'm not gonna lie. Like he seems like a well kept guy with a mullet. Steve Belichick, Royce. He's just got a mullet. Like he doesn't look like he smells bad.
I don't know, man.
Steve Belichick just looks like he lives in garbage.
Oh man!
Like guaranteed, Steve Belichick wakes up in a greasy wife beater next to a open box of pizza pretty much every morning. Like I guarantee that's a thing. It might be in a nice house, but it's gross.
I do want, as we're talking about, like, I don't want to say overhauling, but certainly trying to upgrade the offensive line. Can we get some slobs on there? Like, can we get some stinky dudes on there? You really need that on an offensive line.
So down.
Be good.
Yeah. I mean, no wonder we can't stop the run. All our offensive linemen wear deodorant.
That's true. That's the problem.
Did I say stop the run?
You did.
We for the run.
I get it. Yeah.
The comments were about to roast me alive if I hadn't said that. Yeah. Clarified it.
There might be one that snuck in there. We'll see.
Yeah. I think we got to jump ahead to Tyler because he donated $4.99 super chat.
Tyler.
How much concern is there of player regression because of Barry versus the result of checking out from Barry? Gary's and other just don't look the same. This says for like the last 36 hours, it's been weighing on me of just like, what if some of our formerly elite dudes are broken in some way and need to be retrained how to be good, and it's not just the scheme.
Yeah, and that's so that it's kind of a two-parter. Like, how much of the defense not being good is a result of the just complete everybody giving up, and then the other part is like, is this something where, like, as soon as Joe Barry's gone, or even a new season maybe can rejuvenate these guys, they're just back and we're good. Or is there something fundamentally broken? Is it partially a Matt LaFleur issue where they don't want to play for him anymore? There's a lot of other issues where it's like, I'm not entirely 100% sure that I know how and when and if this gets fixed, but I'm genuinely hopeful that at the very least, if we get a new defensive coordinator, that these guys can rally behind. Another reason why I kind of like the whole former player thing a little bit, because even if it's fake, they'll buy into it. I'm hoping that as long as there's some level of buy-in and some decent play early on, that everything will be right back on, where it needs to be.
Jake, I want you to answer that question now so that Ryan can do the math and
I'm
add to my
exactly what I'm doing
donation
right
counter, because that's important.
Yeah, it seems like there is, at least with some guys on my mind, that it feels like they're drafting them and it just feels like the fit kind of doesn't make sense to me a little bit in terms of what they're being asked to do. Like, I already brought up Van Ness, and like it took half the season for them to realize, this guy might be better with his hand in the dirt. It's like, yeah, of course it is. Watch the oh gosh, like, just, I mean, what happened at Iowa? And like, I get it. Like, I know having him in the 2-point is helpful because you want athletic players to drop into coverage. If you're going to bring pressure from one way, you want these guys to be athletic enough at 270, by the way, at 270 to drop into coverage. And I get it. Like, Van Ness at least has like graded okay in this area. Right. And like, it's because he's obviously a supremely good athlete who can do it. But at the same time, you have guys that, you watch other defenses play and they're like, oh, they got this guy that, is really, really good dropping in coverage. I'm not going to bring up Parsons because that's one of one. There's not many of those. types, but you get like 240, 250 pound guys that you trust more to drop into coverage in a scheme like this where you're playing 5 up front. And it's just like, should you have guys who are 270 on the edge doing this? And it's like, well, if you have guys that are 270, why are you not, more so looking at 4-3, right? When you get these guys hands in the dirt. But I feel like also Gary has gotten really, comfortable rushing out of the 2-point. And so, we got all of this like kind of mixed, fits where guys are like, I like this better. I like this better. You go heavy at edge, right? You go heavy at outside linebacker, whatever you want to call it. And then you're going light with a lot of the guys on the interior. Like, oh, look at all these versatile dudes who are like, you maybe just over 300, or like a guy like Wooden, who's like, kind of been flirting with the 300 mark, right? When he's playing, just doesn't feel like everything is like put together, like all together. Like Carrington Valentine, if I correct me if I'm wrong, but like I feel like he was really good press, really good against man coverage. Like he was at Kentucky because he would get up in your face and he'd play physical ball. And if they're gonna play, I mean, I think Green Bay's like second or third in the league in like cover 3 right now. Is that what Carrington Valentine should be doing? I mean, I just don't know if like you're getting to a point where Goody's like, I'm sticking to my guns. I know what works. I can get talent in here, and it's like, Barry, figure it out. Just figure it out. Like this guy works well in this guy works well in this, but I'm almost certain you can figure this out as a whole. And like you can get all of these guys to work perfectly in harmony. It's just like, it just doesn't feel like there is a set identity of like what needs to happen for everything to coalesce as 11 players. So I don't know if it's almost impossible to say for sure, right? If it's one or the other. Guys there could be guys who are checking out. They're never going to say it. And there are probably guys who just like, this is just not the best position and the best like technique, I guess, that I'm playing either on the defensive line or in coverage, and they're just not comfortable with it. And it's like, they're trying to learn on the fly, and like, just everything is going haywire because of it. It's just, I would like there to be, to me at least, it feels like there needs to be a single vision if they're going to stick with a lot of 3-4. And I'm just not sure they have the right one that's going to fit with that. So
I would like you to explain to me something though.
Yeah.
You just said that, like, something about, we can't have a Micah Parsons. Can you explain to me, as though I were an idiot,
Sure,
why Quay Walker can't be Micah Parsons?
His hand usage is nowhere near as good.
Besides that, no.
Well, I don't know. Where else can I take it? But like, it just feels like for him when he's blitzing, he needs the clear path.
Yeah, he's
like, I just don't trust his hands. Like, I think there was obviously a lot of the talk of like, oh, they could try this, and like that would be something to look at. I just think he has to get more reps doing it. It's just right now when you see him blitz and he's like, oh, I've run into an offensive lineman. Well, I guess I'll call it a day. I'm not getting there. Like, I'm
willing to fire Kirk Olvidati if it means that we turn Quay Walker into Micah Parsons. That's a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
Okay.
It's a decent trade, I suppose.
Yeah, dude, that's, I'll look into that. I'll look into it.
Physically, Quay is slightly better almost across the board, except for his vert. He's better everywhere except for his vert.
But is he more flexible in concurrence with that explosiveness? That's really
all that makes Micah though.
I mean, no, but like, it's a huge part of it when you're playing like that undersized.
Jake literally just wants one thing, and it's disgusting.
Flexibility.
We spent a first
270
levels than I was expecting, to be honest.
We spent a first round pick on an off ball linebacker. I'd like him to be Micah Parsons, please. I don't see what's so difficult to understand about that.
Yeah. Yeah, why is it so hard to get a freaking Micah Parsons, for crying out loud? Like,
I don't know.
Seriously.
It's hard to say, Could every linebacker be the next Micah Parsons? Find out.
Man up and do your job, maybe.
Oh man. Yeah, it's just I think he is exceptional athlete. It's just right now, like rushing the passer, it's not there. He was doing his best at Georgia, just running around, just hey, that's the ball. I'm gonna go get that guy. Like that's how he played, and it's like it's still kind of there like that. That player's still there, and it consistency needs work.
I want to share something I thought was kind of cool. This is defensive EPA per play versus offensive EPA per play. And the Packers are exactly where you'd expect, but like way more so. I mean, way more so. Look at that.
Golly,
second highest offensive EPA per play on the season.
Wow.
Lowest defensive EPA per play in the NFL. Now, this is only the last
4 weeks,
right?
13 through 16.
But still, I wouldn't – defense, I would guess I would have expected the last 3 weeks, maybe. Offense, I would not have.
Wow. Also, Seattle being in third is like I'm losing my mind a little bit. Geno's been hurt, and they played Drew Lock in a game.
The Seahawks and the Packers are like the exact same team right now. I hadn't noticed.
We're the exact same team. You're telling me trading Jair for Witherspoon should be fine then, because we're the exact same. No one would know the difference.
One for one swaps across the board.
Yeah.
Look at where the Cowboys are, though. We've been talking about Al Harris. I don't know, man.
You know what? This was the meat of the schedule. Okay. Green Bay, I wouldn't say is hitting the meat of the schedule at the moment. I'm not sure I would say that. So,
the offense is meeting expectations based on their opponents.
Right.
Did we already do last week the Joe Barry meme about like, stop giving me your hardest battles, Lord? And Jesus, like it's literally Bryce Young and the 2-win Panthers.
It's literally
funny because that meme you can just keep using it every week.
I know.
We can use it again next week with the quarterbacks.
It's literally, I'm literally Jared Hall.
I'm literally a bust, a former bust,
maybe,
and a backup with some swagger.
Joe Barry's like, stop giving me your hardest battles. The Vikings are like, we literally don't have a quarterback. We're gonna flip a coin before the game starts to decide which backup we're gonna roll out there.
It's just it's Barry just like praying, no more hard battles. He's like, Minnesota and Chicago don't have quarterbacks, buddy.
Joe Barry sees
the quarterback
like,
since the Chiefs, bro.
Yeah.
Joe Barry reads the news and sees that TJ Hawkinson is on IR and Jordan Addison might not play. He's like, stop giving me your hardest battles.
America is about to find out who Brandon Powell is next week. They're like, who's this guy that had 150 yards today? It's like, oh my gosh, the new connection, Jaron Hall to Brandon Powell.
Yep.
Are they going to take over the league? And then they put up 3 points against the Lions the next week,
and then
you're
like,
that's
benched
over
the next week.
Yeah.
Have that'll be the headline. Have the Vikings found their quarterback of the future?
Sets NFL record.
I'm legitimately convinced the Bears could start Tyson Bagent at week 18, probably win the game, and they're like, oh, is this the future? Like, I just just hopeful, I'm just tell everybody just be hopeful that Fields just stays healthy against the Falcons.
So think about this,
right?
Yeah. Think about this though. The Joe Barry defense versus Justin Fields, final week of the season. We get a show from Justin Fields that erases all doubt for Hallis Hall, and they select Marvin Harris Jr. number 1 overall, and pass on Caleb Williams and Drake May.
I don't know if I've ever asked you, Jake. What do you think is scarier for the Bears to do as a Packer fan? Caleb and a tackle, or like Marvin Harrison Fields and a tackle, or however that would play out.
I think Caleb and Neighbors is absolute nightmare fuel, and I don't want to think about it ever again. Okay. Thank you. Thanks.
All right, good to know.
I think May and Neighbors is also nightmare fuel. Anything to not get Neighbors in Chicago would be just great. I don't need to sit up at night thinking about that. I will now, though, for the next 4 months. So,
Tyler wants to know, is the pastor not the dumbest nickname in football? No, because Tush Push exists. Otherwise, yes.
Yeah. Danny Dimes is up there. What just a horrible thing that they tried to make happen.
Yeah, it's
in
not
New York.
I mean, all things considered, now that we've seen how it's played out, it sucks. I mean, if he was actually pretty good, then okay, fine, it's stupid, but you got to put up with it.
Yeah.
Well, okay, hang on. Fan base nicknames.
Excellent.
Have you guys run into the whole Bang Bang Niner Gang thing?
No.
I don't know how. Well, I do. You guys don't tick people off on Twitter as much as I do,
I guess.
But
No.
I think that this started in like 2019 is the first time I started seeing it. But they do this Bang Bang Niner Gang. They got these T-shirts, and it's like
feels like they're sending a wrong message here, but I don't know.
It's probably the right message, honestly.
Dude, those Niner games, they get out of control. That fan base. Whoo! The fights.
Yeah,
it's not great, and they believe they host the Rams week 18, so I can't imagine that will be peaceful.
Did you?
So
there was a photo that they were sharing around of there was somebody at this Ravens Niners game, and he had a naughty versus nice list, and the nice is all all these 49ers people, and the naughty list is like all the NFC West teams and the Ravens because they were playing the Ravens.
Sure.
And it said and Odell, and everybody was like, why the heck is Odell just out here catching strays? And then somebody pointed out that like he'd had some sort of cool catch against the Niners as a Ram like 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, when they won
yeah. So I thought that was funny.
That's pretty good.
It is stupid though, the Bang Bang Niner Gang.
Yeah, that's very weird. I know.
Is it not the most annoying thing you've heard in a while?
It's bad.
It's pretty annoying.
I wouldn't want to, like, if like Packers Twitter came together and proposed something like that, I'd be like, no, dude, we can't allow this to happen. Like we have to stop this somehow.
Just replace Niner with cheese, and I think we're in serious trouble here.
Bang cheese gang, that's true.
I think I think we got to delete this. This is not going on the pod. That last 10 seconds is not. We can't get this out there to the world.
No, here.
I don't want it to happen.
I found our version of it.
Now I got to look it up because I'm getting worried.
Oh. Is it the G-Force thing they tried to really hammer home a while back? No, it's not.
Here, I'm sharing my screen now. This is the best thing for the Packers fan base.
I don't like where this is going.
Is it Sharon?
Is this going to give me more nightmare fuel than
Just say this when you exit the room. Stay fresh.
I don't like this at all. Yeah, this is much worse.
It reminds me of when the Detroit Lions fan base this past summer or whatever tried to start the whole like, hey, we're gonna wear ski masks at all the games.
Oh, yeah,
that's what Bang Bang Niner Gang reminds me of.
Okay, yeah, that's not good. I know Adam also put down that Maya Neighbors is his nightmare too. I'm with you. This rumor stinks, by the way, Tyler. I don't like this at all. I don't like it at all.
That can't be a thing though, right?
I mean, he's like basically a guaranteed top 10 pick. Cooper,
you're a DB. Yeah, I mean, how much better is it going to get for you as a presumed safety? What, you think you're going to be like a top 5 pick as a safety? That ain't going to happen.
Yeah, I hate to break it to you, Cooper Jean. You're not Kyle Hamilton. Love you, but not quite. And he didn't even. And he went 14th. So, it's very unlikely.
Where do you think he's going to go?
Where do I think Cooper's gonna go?
Yeah, like roughly number in the draft.
18 to 26. Let's go there.
You can't
So
pass that up
it's
as
a high likelihood that he will be available and the Packers will not pick him and everyone's going to be super ticked off.
Well, maybe. The early crushes, I feel like, just do not work out. Like who is genuinely, who is like, oh yeah, this Lucas Van Ness cat, like back last December, it's like, man, I want Packers to pick him at in the first round. Like it's not a thing. Like we have to go back. I have to think about who it was.
I mean, I was big on Carl Brooks back in last October. I would have been happy with taking him with our number 1 pick.
Oh wow, okay, fair.
Tankathon has us right now with the number 12 overall pick.
Yeah, nope. What? Oh, I thought you said they have us taking a certain tackle that is
no, they have it.
Never
they
in their
have us at
thresholds
12.
at all. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. They are currently picking 12th.
You don't want that tackle?
No, it's just that they don't pick guys that big. The tackle, I have it right here. I could share the screen. I have all their picks. They've never, like in the Goody era, the biggest dude in terms of size, not counting out the centers, right, is like Sean Ryan at 321. Latham's gonna be way bigger than that. Like he is like, and Amarius Mims is 340. Like we can chop that off the list as well. Think tall and 315 and under. That's where we're looking. And people will still for the next 4 months go, well, yeah, Fuaga, Mims, if he declares, and Latham, they're all in play. It's like they probably are not.
Tankathon has us going unnamed tackle.
No, I know it is.
Then Kinchins, and then Burke.
Kinchins.
Then they also have us taking defensive lineman Tyler Davis out of Clemson, which is just too confusing because of our other Tyler Davis. You can't have 2 Tyler Davises on the team.
That's true. Guess what? Both are going to help the run game on their respective sides of the ball in 2024, if that is the case, if they do pick Tyler Davis. So
yeah, but this dude's from Clemson, so
I know you're very out, very out on that.
Listen, I heard a 5-minute rant one time about why you shouldn't take Clemson defenders. And so I've just based my whole life on that at this point.
That's weird.
JJ would have been absolutely heated if it was Miles Murphy and not Lucas Van Ness last year.
Dude,
I would have liked to see that, honestly, a little bit.
I guess you never saw any of my Miles Murphy tweets. I was so out.
No, I saw it. That's why I said I wanted to see the reaction if that was the case.
Oh, yeah, I would. And Lucas Van Ness was my number 1 prospect in the whole draft. Right. So, yeah, I mean, you have very accurately assessed the situation.
Yep. So JJ, for those, JJ is going to be very anti Nate Wiggins in the first round.
Dude, Nate, what kind of name is Nate Wiggins? You can't draft a guy named Nate freaking Wiggins.
I need other examples of player names you cannot draft. I know Zach Wilson's going to be on your list as well. I know he is. We got to go further than that. No. To Tyler's question, I mean, the next crushes are like, obviously JJ's there as well. Latu, edge rusher from UCLA. Would they take another edge rusher? Would they dare? Would they dare anger people that much? Yeah, maybe. And then obviously Neighbors.
I mean, the only argument for not going edge rusher is just if you're like, oh, we need defensive back help that much that
for sure
you have to go that direction. That's the only
for sure.
Because like the offense is doing good. You can't be like, oh, we have to have a wide receiver. Like, dude, Jaden Reed, 2nd round last year. Favorite. Did you like that? Screw it. We'll do it again. You want another 2nd round banger?
Yeah.
Wide receiver.
Jermaine Burton, wide receiver, Alabama. There you go.
I dig it.
We'll do it again.
And like, who's going to sit here and say, oh, no, trust me, our defensive line is good enough. You don't need to add more pieces. It's great.
The problem is I think there's so many people still locked into receiver and tackle right now at like 11 or 12.
Yeah.
Where like, they're like, it can't be defense again, but also fire Joe Barry. Our defense is bad. It's like, all right. Yep. Sure.
Yeah. Our defense is perfect despite any evidence, but
if we don't take a receiver, I'm going to lose my mind. It's like, well,
Yeah.
I get it. If Neighbors is on the board, that's fair. You can be upset about that. I get that. But like just the idea of, I know DeJean, if he goes back to school. Oh, yeah, there you go.
The other thing is that
like with the mustard, yeah, like they'll do that, I'm sure.
The other thing is I always like, I know that you have to do it, but I hate drafting defensive backs in the first round because it's just not that interesting to me. Like, I like the pass rushers. They're exciting. You know, Devontae Wyatt was exciting. A quarterback is exciting. And I don't know, like we take so many first round defensive backs, and like out of all of them, like, hey, Jair's pretty good. And
hey, eventually the second hit, it's coming. I feel it.
So I feel like we're gonna take a defensive back, and I just don't want to, because I just want something sexy and fun and exciting.
I know.
And I feel like I would just, you know, if we start hitting on like third round cornerbacks, oh yes, can we just do that? Like the third round just flies by anyways. Just do that.
It's fair.
I will say that when you think about elite safety play, I think you could describe it as sexy and exciting. Like just think to the last time you were super jacked up about a Packer safety, whoever that might have been.
It was Darnell.
That was a good time, man.
It was Darnell in 2020. That was a lot of fun.
But yeah, I would be, if the whole, like the mocks are putting Kitchens in round 2, like that's exciting. That's very exciting. Just to play, it's perfect, right? The player doesn't have a good year, but 2022 is excellent, and they just go, "Yep, that's the guy. That's it. It's Jaden Reed all over again." Like we know he's that guy.
So I don't know the athletics of some of these guys, but let's apply sort of the Packers logic to think, because usually we pick kind of late-ish first round and then reach into the second round. Mm-hmm. Who are some of these like late first-ish round guys that fit that criteria of being like way too early? Like, is Kitchens potentially one of those guys, or does he not fit that sort of athletic freak?
Oh, he's a freak.
Okay.
At his size, he's a freak. Like it's
because right now is consensus 32, so this might be a little bit high for us.
It wouldn't. He'd be a lot higher if he had a better season, right? Like this, if you look at his season this year, it was just very inconsistent. He dealt with injury. Like, it's like the perfect thing where you're like, well, if he was healthy this year, it's probably like a top, 15, 20 pick. And and like, Green Bay takes him earlier, and people are like, how could you he played so bad last year? And, they're just very much in on like, no, like the 2022 version is the player we're getting.
Because I'm looking at like, say 20 picks earlier than they're expected to go is kind of what the Packers do around this time. So it's like, we got Lassiter, cornerback out of Georgia, which scares the crap out of me because it just seems to be a thing. You got
Javon Bullard, safety out of Georgia. What can you tell us about him?
I can tell you he played a lot of slot last year and has transitioned to play a little bit more like too high safety, and he's looked really good doing it. And if that's the like, versatile safety nickel that if DeJean goes back to school, that's probably the player you'd want to drive the bus for if you're looking for that type of player. Like Bullard as a nickel and maybe as well as a safety is like, it's like you liked Chris Smith last year, right? I think from Georgia.
Oh, safety. Yes, big time.
Yeah.
Big time, yeah.
So like imagine that, and the guy just is explosive, even more explosive as a player, and probably a little more versatile. And like that, you're getting more out of him, I think, than you would have like a Chris Smith, who was probably pretty tapped out athletically. Like Bullard is probably going to be this year's version of like Branch, but he's going to have, I think, more in the tank athletically. We're like, you can play on the roof. He's shown to play on the roof more than Branch has played it like on the roof in his career. And you're like, you don't have to necessarily pencil him into slot, but like you can play him there and be really pleased about it. So maybe that's the guy. Maybe
consensus overall number 69, DJ James, cornerback out of Auburn. What can you tell us about him?
I can tell you that I've not gotten to him, but he is going to the Senior Bowl, and he will face a lot of competition there. I would say the one guy who's like nowhere near, to me, as high as he should be on a lot of these consensus boards is Byron Murphy from Texas, defensive line. Ridiculously good year. Might be a better prospect than Jer'Zhan Newton as a defensive lineman. Like he's being overshadowed because Sweat is having a ridiculous year because he's 362 pounds and he's like doing it all 3 downs. Boy, you don't have to watch much of Byron Murphy and you'll be in. Like he just wrecks Oklahoma State. Like they're rotating 8 guys in a lot, like on their defensive line, and you can just tell when Murphy's out there. Like, why is this guard in the quarterback's lap? It's like, oh, that's Murphy again, isn't it? Yeah, like he was dominant this year. So,
Elevated Giants comment. I don't know what this was related to, but presents are the best way to show someone how much you care. It's like this tangible thing. You can say, "Hey, man, I love you this many dollars worth."
I think that's an office quote, but I don't know.
Yeah, that is. It's an office quote, but it reminds me of when Michael Scott gets the gas card. It's like $50 or something. He's like, "You can't put a price tag on that."
Yeah.
There you go.
Adam says no more first round safeties, please.
But why?
Would you like a good first round safety?
Has there been somebody besides Darnell that we've taken recently in the first round? Am I forgetting somebody?
I think Clinton Dix would have been the one last one before that.
Oh, yeah.
That was a while ago. Isn't that 2014?
That's what I'm saying. Like it's two in the last 20 years.
2, and one had a really good rookie season, and then obviously it went downhill from there. But like,
yeah,
I don't know. To me, safety is like, I get it, but at the same time, there are those players where you're like, you kind of just like have that feeling where you're like, yeah, but this is different. And I know people have said it about guys that are, that haven't worked out, and that's just the nature of the draft. But like, if you find like a Kyle Hamilton with that size and that, that level of processing speed and that level of versatility, like it's like Adam says, he's a unicorn. And when you find the unicorn, it's like, yep, it's time. Like it is time.
I think that's a lot of positions, though. A lot of these. I mean, TJ Watt is a unicorn too.
Oh, for sure. Nobody drops into coverage quite like him. It's very, very. Are you looking at the too old for this comment, JJ? Yeah.
Matt loves Joe Barry. One video iPod's worth.
Yeah.
Oh man, I need some. Michael.
This is Tyler's point. People are going to get into this mindset for sure.
Tyler says, "Screw it. Just try to rebuild the 2011 offense. More wide receiver and lineman."
I'm already there.
This is how it's going to be. It's going to be like, well, Mike Daniels said it. Like, this defense is never going to be good. So why bother putting resources into it? Just put a bunch of mid-round picks on the defense.
If we're going to be 28th anyways, why bother?
Right.
You know what I mean?
I mean, it's like, just want to make sure we don't actually attribute those words to Mike Daniels because he didn't actually say that.
No. I'm just saying, like, he just like saying like scheme is just he's not sure what's going on.
No,
like he's just kind of like unsure, right? He didn't say like definitively like it's going to always be 28th. But like, if you're going to get 28th out of like all 7th round picks, I mean,
I like that Mike Daniels started that tweet off with like, "Hey, Packers fans, what do you think about this?" As though we know anything about anything.
Why do you think, yeah, like people are going to just pull this detailed thing. Like, I think Mike, you should have been playing a little more, shade nose rather than like, a little more 1 or 2 technique. Like, I don't know why they would put you there. Like, nobody's going to be like that. They're just be like, just the coaches sucked. And that's what I think is going to be like that's probably the most common answer on that tweet. So
Garrett says, do we trade Jair and sign a high-end free agency safety, then draft Kool-Aid? Should we have the Jair conversation? Because, like, what would the compensation? What would be the smallest amount of compensation that it would take to get you to move Jair today? Well, once the trading period opens back up.
I don't want to trade him.
Okay, but would you trade him for 10 first-round picks?
Yes,
Can't
but
give
is
10
that
first-round picks.
realistic? No. Like realistically, JJ, what do you think like the price starts at? Because then I think that could gauge my interest. To me, it's pretty low to trade him, but I mean,
Would you trade him for exactly 1 first-round pick?
No.
You would not trade Jair for 1 first-round pick?
No.
probably not. No.
He's a perennial top 10 cornerback.
Yeah.
Not like a lot higher than 10, but top 10.
This is the boat conversation, right? Like, oh, this could be a boat. We have a boat, but like this could also be a boat. We don't know.
But the question is like, do you want, like, could you trade him away to someone who thinks that he's more than just a top 10 cornerback and get more than that in return?
I think it just comes back down to like, I want to build a really, really good football team. Like the picks are great, but I don't want to create a massive void that's going to take a massive amount of picks to be able to replace. I mean, he's okay. So maybe he's like 9th, and that's not the greatest thing in the world. But how many corners are there? Like 150, 200 corners. So
Yeah.
there's 8 that are better than him, and there are 140 that are worse than him. So yeah, we could spend 2 first-round picks trying to replace him, or maybe 1 first-round pick failing to replace him, and another first-round pick trying to get something else. We're going backwards. We have that fixed. We need to work on fixing the other issues. I don't want to create problems just for the sake of, like, I don't know, it just feels like something to do or whatever. I never and under any circumstances have a desire to trade away really good football players that can help us now and in the future just for the sake of acquiring any amount of picks, because the entire point is to build and find these types of players, and we have them, and I don't want him to leave.
Well, 2022, he was the 10th highest graded cornerback.
Right.
2021, he was 27th. So, like, I'm just like, is he what we always say he is? Now, 2020.
Well, what do we say he is? Because right now everybody says he's a bust, which is a complete fallacy.
It does seem like people have very much turned on Jair.
I'm asking, okay, what do you say he is right now? Like, totally objectively, where do you expect him to grade out at the end of the 2024 season?
I would expect top 15 for sure. Top 10 would not surprise me.
Yeah, I was going to say in the 7 to 12 range is where I would expect him to be. And that's again, a top half of the league, cornerback 1 that you're trotting out there every week because you know that he can make special plays happen.
Yeah, with the upside of being the best corner in football.
Right. And you just don't have a lot of those guys. Like, I get that it's very cool to find a Deron Bland, but like, it's just such a risky proposition. Like, as good as like we may think the Alabama corners are coming out this year, right? Like, if they're not in the right, a lot of it's going to come down to, are they in the right spot? Are they in the right system? Are they going to perform if, we tweak something that they haven't really done before? And
sure,
there's so much risk, I think, in the proposition of finding the top 7 to 12 corner to get, and like giving up what we know to potentially be that. It's just, we love, and listen, I love the draft and it's awesome. And it's so fun because it's like, what could we get? Could we possibly but the spectrum is so wide to the point of like, I get giving up a player like Rasul that can be more rationalized in my brain, where it's like, okay, he's, pushing the point where he's getting to an age where you don't know how much you can keep this up. Jair's still in that range where you go, he's got years in him to play the position at a high level. Starting over, give up that to start over, to me is, yeah, it's putting you behind in your potential rebuild. And maybe it works out, but maybe it's like, okay, well, we'll push this rebuild back to 25 or 26. And I don't necessarily want to do that when you have, there's a lot working well offensively. If we had, 4 or 5 holes on defense rather than 8 or 9 holes on defense to fix, that feels more manageable than getting rid of some guys who you think, okay, well, we can maybe replace this. And it's like, well, it's just adding to the shopping list. And I don't really want to necessarily add to the shopping list if we don't have to add to the shopping list.
Well, and there's another point here to be made too, which is, yeah, he's maybe not quite top 10 every year. Who is? Of the top 10 corners, how many were top 10 last year? Sauce Gardner.
Rasul has been in that same range over the last 3 years that Jair has been.
Sure. But I mean, again, how many? Because like you mentioned Deron Bland. He was a mediocre corner last year, probably going to be mediocre next year. Right? You go through the list of all these guys, they're all up and down. It's very rare that you're going to find anybody. And yes, Rasul's had a good couple of years, no doubt about it. And that's why he's a good corner. There's not a lot of guys where you got 5 straight years of just being a top corner, and the ones that are really good, even if you're 9th. I'd rather have a guy that's 12th every single year as opposed to a guy that's like 1st and then 30th and then 12th and then 75th or whatever, which we've had some of those guys. Marlon Humphrey. It's like I never know what to call him. I got to check every year because one year he's like elite, and then the next year it's like, oh, wait, he actually sucks. Never mind. I'm sorry. I've been praising him, talking about how good he is, and it sucks is strong, but it's like, oh, he's mediocre. He has a 66th grade this year. I mean, that's how it goes. Like, people fluctuate. It's even all the other players on our team. It's like, I don't want to get into this habit of saying, well, he's not a superstar because he was bad last year. That's everybody. I mean, there's players that are bad. There's players that are good intermittently. And then there are players who are like good to elite every single year. And those are the rare among the rare.
Yeah.
Would you move him for the was that safety who went from the Jets to the Seahawks? I'm forgetting his name.
Oh, Jamal Adams.
Yeah, Jamal Adams. Adam brought him up in the chat. Would you move him for the Jamal Adams package? It was 2
firsts. I thought you meant the player. I was like, that is the worst idea I've ever heard in my life.
No, would you move him for the package that the Jets got for Jamal Adams?
2 firsts.
I'm just saying, like,
tell me Jair is a locker room cancer, and I'll say yes. Just throw that in, and I'll say yes. But otherwise, I just don't think I don't want to do it. I don't want to have the conversation. I don't want to lose a perennial top 10 corner, which is one of the most important people. I mean, that's how you get to a Super Bowl. You lose him, we're not going. We're not going to a Super Bowl, period.
Right.
My question is, what did the Jets get out of that?
Oh, suck and more suck.
Good question.
They have an idiot GM.
That's what I want to know is, like, what were those 2 picks that they got?
One of them was probably Garrett Wilson.
Okay.
So what was the player's name? At Jamal Adams?
Yeah, I'm trying to look and find what it is.
Jamal Adams trade. I should just go to the robot and be probably faster, because otherwise you're reading like 500-word articles and whatnot.
The Jets got Elijah Vera Tucker and Garrett Wilson.
Okay.
All right.
Which, again, Garrett's
great
player. Vera Tucker's been hurt a ton. And, they took, a guard who can start tackle. And
the other issue is you better hope that one of those is like a top 5, top 10 pick. Because if you get 2 first-round picks and you get the 25th pick and the 28th pick, you ain't getting Garrett Wilson. Like, that's not going to happen. You're not getting Sauce Gardner. You're not getting any of those top elite. I mean, you can get lucky and grab a guy, but he might as well be a second-round pick.
Yeah.
So, a question: what did Ramsey go for? The Rams traded for. Nope, this is when they traded him away. I mean, the Jaguars trade.
So it was 2020 and 2021 firsts. And I feel like the 2 picks that they were, if I'm not mistaken, were CJ Henderson and Travis Etienne. I'm pretty sure those were the 2 picks.
I got an article here. It is. So the whole point of this article is that the Jags got fleeced because of how they spent their picks. I'm Levi Chason and Travis Etienne.
Chason and Etienne.
And they had a 4th-round pick that they spent on.
Wait till nobody knows the name.
They traded that 4th-round pick back to the Rams.
Oh, good.
to move up 9 spots. So they give away a 4th round pick to move up 9 spots and pick UAB edge rusher Jordan Smith.
There you
who
go.
did not play his rookie season. Because the Jaguars said, quote, he wasn't physically ready.
Chase on. Super good that the Jaguars went 2 years later and said, we got to get Trayvon Walker. Like,
brutal.
Yeah. Like ETN, pretty inefficient runner. Took a running back in the first for that.
Tyler says Goody is drooling looking at those 3rd round picks offered for Jair now that the curse is broken. I think Goody has
we've had one good year. He's just going to load up 3rd round picks.
He's got enough 3rd round picks, I think, for us to just test the theory one more time before we go trade Jair for some 3rd round picks.
I feel like we've been too 3rd round heavy as it is, and now that Tucker's working out, it's like, dude, we're going all in on 3rd. Like, he's been a big fan of the 3rd round to begin with.
Can I challenge a Packer fan to do something really quick? Go to the PFF simulator if you have it premium. Try to get every 3rd round pick. Would love to see how that works.
Oh,
just get all the 3rd round picks. Yeah. But like, future.
Can I trade away our entire team, or what are the rules here?
I don't know. You can trade. Trade as much as you want. I don't know.
All
whatever you got to do to get there, I think would be very interesting. But like, obviously, future street name Tuckercraft Rumble. I think we need to start making cooler street names. Let's make Rumble a street name. I think, and just Tuckercraft Rumble.
All right.
So let's do that. But yes, if anybody else wants to join Ryan, I think in the quest, I'll try to do it as well. Get all the 3rd round picks and see how it goes.
So I wasn't able to pause it fast enough. The first 11 picks flew by that fast. And Leatu Latu went at pick 11. And I want to punch my screen right now.
That's the best part. Mock drafts are so funny when you're like, the people who are like super passionate about doing these. I've done that too, where I'm like, are you kidding me? He went one pick before me in the 3rd round. I wanted him there. And you're like, I'm starting over. I want the result I want. Starting over, I want the result I want. These things.
Yeah.
That's my favorite. If you guys out there do that,
I do that.
We are on the same wavelength.
Yep.
So the PFF simulator will let me trade our second round pick to the Lions for both of their 3rds this year and their 3rd next year.
Okay, you got to use that 3rd next year to get back into the 3rd this year. Everything's on the table. How much, whatever you can trade in there, it's on the table.
Every time we do a show, somebody jumps in and wants us to revisit the very first topic. It's like every single time. It's funny. It's like a classic.
It is. It does happen a lot.
We're trading away all of our 6th and 7th and trying to package them up.
Jack, be sure you jump back in on this when it gets reposted as a podcast. You'll be able to hear all about it.
We definitely covered a lot on that.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's like a dream name that like, I feel like Mike McDonald's actually just a dream DC that's just not going to happen unless he's a head coach. So that I'll just count that because we went more in depth though, Jack, earlier. So
Arizona has 3 3rd round picks. It looks like.
No,
one down to 2.
Is 102 a 3rd? I think it is.
3.
It isn't right now, at least from what I can see. I don't know. Maybe some other sites other than PFF have it that way. It's just the compensatories are going to determine a lot of who has, the most 3rds.
Well, this is weird. So,
and
I offered in exchange for all 3 of the Cardinals' 3rd round picks. I offered our 1st this year, and they wouldn't take it. I offered our 1st this year and next year. They wouldn't take it, but they would take our 1st and 2nd this year. So they don't want next year's 1st.
Wow.
Don't even get me started on that.
Oh, wait a minute. What the heck? They'll take this year's 2nd, but they won't take this year's 1st and next year's 1st.
Do we have a different simulator we can use?
Sweet.
I am smashing accept on that. I will keep my 1st round picks. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Idiots. Arizona's like, we don't want to pick in the 1st. It's too much pressure.
As a 3rd round pick hater and a fan of the 2nd round, I think that's kind of a no-brainer.
We are getting into draft day movie level moves right now, and I love it.
Do you watch that movie every year? I do.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I was trying to explain to my dad why it was unrealistic because he asked, he's like, yeah, isn't that a great movie? I said, yeah, I mean, it's unrealistic, but I love it. He's like, what do you mean it's unrealistic? Just like, you don't think that they would be interested in like the players that they took? I'm like, sure, we'll just start with that.
Yeah.
The
they
other
did
thing
a thing
is
with
the
Telesco
Brian
on
Gutekunst character knocking up the Russ Ball character. That was the other big one.
What?
So the salary cap person in that movie is Julia Roberts, I think. Jennifer Gardner. That's right. It's Jennifer Garner. And somebody tweeted something about draft day one time, and Andrew Brandt quote tweeted it, and he's like, yeah, it was when the GM and the salary cap executive were having an affair. That was when it lost me, because he's basically saying like they just don't get along at all in real life, those two positions.
There you go. Yeah, I think they did a thing with Telesco on that. It might have even been last April, where they're like, how much of this is, legit and how much isn't? Obviously, the pick stuff everybody knows, Yeah, I would love to have pick 6 for 3 seconds. Like, yep, sign me up. It's like, yeah, probably not happening. But there are some things with like how all the GMs are discussing trades all day long. Like but it's anyway.
I'm not going to tell you who I had to trade.
Oh, too old for this. How dare you?
To get the Jaguars 3rd round pick. But
JJ is now beefing with too old for this.
We need I'll just say we need a quarterback now.
What are you doing?
You asked me to.
That was the one that was.
Oh man. We also don't have Rashawn Gary anymore.
Boy. Yeah, this is too old for this. Said Jack. They want Jerry Montgomery for DC. That's funny. There you go. That's there it is.
Hey, how's Jerry Gray doing in Atlanta? Because that's an interesting one to me. Because it was very contentious when we moved on from Jerry Gray.
Ooh.
But I didn't like how our secondary was performing at that point in time. So
the Falcons are extremely volatile every week. I don't know how to properly assess them.
Boom. I got it that time.
They got Jesse Bates over there in Atlanta right now.
Nobody cares.
AJ Terrell. And then everybody else.
$9.99 donations. Excellent.
Dang. And how do you say his name? Brendax21?
I think you nailed it. I think you nailed it.
I think that's it.
I feel like it's the first time I've seen Brendax's name in here.
I know.
Welcome to the live stream, my friend.
See
that, y'all are great. Thank you for your great content. Brendax, you got a question? I mean, we will happily prioritize your question and fumble our way through the answer like we often do.
I'm still blown away with the fact that there are comments from X now on here.
I know.
The artist formerly known as Twitter. I love it. It's finally a thing. It only took a couple years to get it back.
Right.
The nice thing with this $9.99 donation from Brendax is that the math on that is really hard for Ryan to mess up.
Well, I'm splitting it 2 ways now, so it gets more complicated.
Oh, we're not dishing out to Jake anymore?
No, I'm cutting you out for being a smart aleck about the math comment.
That's tough. That's tough.
Dang.
I've seen, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. JJ, how are you doing on the
we don't have any players left, but we got a lot of picks.
I don't know if all the 3rd round picks is enough to get a full team, though. That's concerning.
Right now, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We have 15 3rd round picks. At this point, I'm struggling to find teams that still have 3rd round picks because I think a few of them have multiples.
Yep. For sure they do. For sure.
What the heck? So I tried to offer our 3rd round pick next year.
That's what we're doing.
To the Cowboys for their 3rd round pick this year.
I don't know if we even need an audience for this. I'm going to be honest. We can end the stream if we wanted to.
Yeah, we'll have to give for those who are actually still here and like listening to this play-by-play of like how to acquire all 3rd round picks.
I don't remember why you wanted me to do this either, but I think
it was just because like someone said like Goody's acquiring more 3rd-round picks now because of Kraft and breaking the curse, and it's like, well, maybe.
Too old for this is still keeping up the comments here. Oh, I missed Tyler Dershel. Trade Lazard and Reed. Trade the Lazard and Reed comp pick. Oh, the compensatory picks for Lazard and Jaron Reed. So you got me confused because I was thinking about Jaden Reed.
Yeah, right.
For a 3rd-round pick. Yeah, done.
Yep.
Done.
Yeah, this is a good point. That grades a difficult assessment because Ryan Nielsen's his first year as DC. Yeah, like I said, they're just a volatile team right now. It's hard to get a kind of a handle on them defensively and how like truly things are going there.
So we got Brendax came through with a question with his donation. He said he'd love to see the team switch to a 4-3 because he thinks Wyatt and Clark fit it easily. Gary and Hercules, Lucas Van Ness, are natural end fits. And I think Quay flows much better with more bodies eating out blocks up front. Thoughts?
I think
more of a Jake question, so go ahead.
Jinx.
I think they'd have to get a little bit bigger at one of the DT spots, or have somebody.
No? I mean,
TJ's questionable.
All right.
What? I mean, because they have a lot of pass rushers right now, and that's really nice. But I feel like they need to have somebody who is like extremely reliable against the run. Right, because like I think a lot of the Bengals 4-man fronts, like they had Hill and Reader. Right, Reader was a huge dude who ate up a lot of space, and then Hill could kind of do both things, and that works out really well. Usually, not this year. This year it hasn't worked out well at all. But the last couple of years it had worked because like you had enough where you're like, okay, we're not giving up a lot of early down success on the ground. We're getting teams that favorable looks for us on 2nd and 3rd downs. So if they did that, I would like a guy who is 3 downs, maybe a little less upside as a rusher, but they'd have to be able to defend the run a lot better. And I think Walker would almost have to play without the green dot a little bit more, because I think there's going to be a lot of run game responsibility and instincts to kind of handle the green dot. So they might need to potentially upgrade there too.
But I just want to say real quick off topic, green and gold draft. If you're still in here, I saw you had commented. Your banter with Homer on Twitter is just my favorite thing. Every time I see it, it takes me like I try to get to the beginning of it, so I have to click like 7,000 times to try to get to the beginning of your conversation. But I always enjoy those exchanges. Huh?
Fill us in. I haven't seen this.
Oh, I couldn't even. I'll just post it in the. It would take me 10 minutes to get to the beginning of the conversation.
There's so much to it. It's so good. But like they would also have to have an overhang player a little bit. Like they could have a guy could drop down and rush too, which opens up some possibilities at linebacker. But it also opens up possibilities like having a big nickel player and like Cooper DeJean come on down, like please. Phil to help the run, be able to cover, like do all that stuff. So I would like it, but that's going to require the Packers to kind of get out of their comfort zone, which I'm not sure.
Homer is getting curb stomped in this.
So,
jeez.
Well, yeah. Not to be impolite, but I don't know that Homer is like if I had to get into an argument with somebody on like Packers anything. I don't know that he would scare me the most. I'll leave it at that.
He's a good old boy. We'll just say that.
Yeah, that's fine. He's a good guy.
Yeah. I like Brendax saying, so the same DT needs us now. Yeah, kind of.
All right. I thought of something earlier today that is ticking me off. Because we're like over here like, oh, like scared to fire Joe Barry because you want to say it can't possibly get worse, but what if it does? And like, can we really trust Matt LaFleur to handle the hiring process? Like, dude, the 49ers and the Rams churn through new defensive coordinators every year, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They're still as good the next year. Like, those two teams have gone, I think they've gone through like 8 DCs in the last 5 years combined.
It feels like
and
it.
They've all been good.
Yep.
And the one dude who you could point to and be like, yeah, I don't know that Brandon Staley was like that great. He still got a head coaching job out of it.
Yeah.
Give me a freaking break.
Had to be doing something right there. Like, and like the personnel too. Like, I get it. Aaron Donald there, really nice, obviously.
But
guys, they got so many rookies. Kobe Turner, like, playing well as a rookie. Byron Young got a lot of pressures as a rookie. Right, their secondary. If you could name 3 guys in the secondary, I challenge you to do so right this moment without looking people at, like Quentin Lake, right, playing safety, Jacoby Durant, Akella Witherspoon, Darian Kendrick, like all these kind of like guys that like they're just day 3 picks, blah blah blah.
Witherspoon's like, the only guy I knew.
They're figuring things out with that personnel. Like, man, like it's. Can we do that, please?
Well, the other thing is, like, we think the Packers are doing a good job of drafting. Like, overall, we like these players.
Yep, we do.
We like Quay. We like Devontae. We like Rashawn and Jair. And, like, individually, hey, do you like this player? Yep, they're great. Mm-hmm. And the whole thing, the sum of it is much less than the sum of its parts.
Jake, do you have any thoughts on Mike Sainristil still?
I mean, he's a dog playing the slot corner position.
Exclusively a slot corner, but yes.
Yeah, exclusively. And like
zero chance Goody would draft him because of that.
That's the problem. That's the one problem is he's not very big, if I remember correctly. Like, he might be in 5'10", 182. That's
that is the hard part about, like, when you do the draft stuff and there's certain guys you really like, but you also know that there's, I'm not going to say never, but very, very, very unlikely based on, their size or whatever, usually size with the Packers. Yeah. And it's like, I don't know. Is it even worth saying I like them, or should we just completely take them off the board and just move on with our lives as though they don't exist?
Well, that's fun. That's fun. Well, you can say you liked the player, right? And are you sure those are confirmed measurables? Because I don't think Brian has them on the confirmed measurables at the moment. So, I just don't know. I mean, if he's 5'9", that also creates a sort of issue there as well. But if you like the player, you can always be like, well, I liked him. I liked him in the draft. He's good. But yeah, building the team board is a lot more difficult because you're like, well, I got to take this off for this and this off for this. And, imagine trying to do that for 32 teams. You just drive yourself nuts.
Yeah.
I like him though.
Mike is a dog. He's a beast.
He is. He really is. 2 years of really, really good, coverage grades. And, guy tackles his butt off. This is a player I want to have on the team.
And I see that NFL mock draft database has him more in the 5th round range. I'm guessing that is a size issue, not necessarily a play issue.
And a positional.
Right. Well, right.
And so, how much do people value that? Do they value it enough?
Small slot guy, yeah.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. And so that's where it gets driven down. But
it's like being a really, really good fullback.
Yeah, right. And this draft is loaded with players who are oh wow, this could be a really good slot player. This could be a really good slot player, and they have a lot of them. And when you look at it right now as a whole, you're how many of these guys are boundary guys? When you look at the cornerback class as a whole, and you go, not many. And that's where you just start thinking wow, Green Bay, they probably need a boundary corner, don't they? Or a field corner, whichever, if you want to qualify those two positions is different. They're probably going to want one of the top guys if they feel it's, a little bit thinner. And that's where you start having the conversations at 11 or 12. Obviously they currently pick at 12. So.
And Sainristil is a fun story too, because he was a wide receiver and actually somewhat a key part of the offense. And the coaches came to and said that they wanted him to switch to playing a defensive back, and he didn't want to do it. He really didn't. But now he's all Big Ten, and I think he's going to go. I think he'll go much earlier than the 5th round. I don't know.
I would imagine so, but
I don't know. He's going to be a 2nd rounder, but maybe a late 3rd rounder, something like that. I could see that.
I don't know. All I know is I just got a random call from somebody in Michigan. So somebody very important is watching this show and has my phone number. I'll fill
Jim
you in on
Harbaugh.
who that is later. Yeah, exactly.
Maybe Connor Stalions is watching us right now.
He's calling in just pissed. How dare you?
Yeah.
You guys what round did you say Mike's going to go in?
It's Minter. Jesse Minter's calling in. DC. He's like, what did you say about him just now?
Hey, do you happen to have Matt LaFleur's phone number? I know you're big wig with the Packers or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
Interested in this defensive coordinator opening?
Yeah.
Tell me about.
Maybe I have Sandra Still's phone number right now. I could let you know if you're interested.
Yeah. Maybe. It's like, oh, the Packers already talked to me.
Yeah,
that's what the call is.
I got the scoop, man. Answer your phone.
It's Sandra Still. He's like, actually, you'd be surprised to know Goody is interested in me.
Yeah,
right. Exactly.
Dan Campbell called to offer a 3rd round pick. I don't get it. Somebody explain that one to me.
It's the phone call from Michigan that Ryan just
got.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it.
Like, you want another 3rd?
Remember the Packers' defense's problem. Ryan, have you listened to that yet?
What's that?
You see Goose's comment? Did you listen to Matt LaFleur's press conference yet?
I saw the allusion to this. I think somebody called on Packernet After Dark and made some kind of a comment, and I was like, I have a feeling that's what's going on, and but no, I have not listened.
I feel like it's been enough days since the game.
Yeah, that's fine.
I feel like you're not going to be fired up anymore.
Well, and so what I'm doing today is I'm going back through the game and just kind of looking at stuff and kind of doing live read through or whatever. And that was sort of my thing. Is it's like I feel like we're not accomplishing much just by kind of as much as that was my goal. I'm kind of I don't really want to just sit here and be anti Matt LaFleur because that's not what I want, but that's just where I'm leading myself to. So why don't we back up a little bit and see if we can find something else to do? So I did not go that route for that reason, but I'm sure I need to do it, and I'm sure it'll come up, and we'll get to that point. Unless you just want to, you feel free to tell me. Enough time has passed if you want to just tell me what's going on.
I mean, you basically know the gist. It's just that he just said that it was the offense's fault that the defense got so tired because they kept going 3 and out. It's like, dude, I don't know what to tell you because they scored 33 freaking points. Like, yeah, they went 3 and out a few times. Oh no, they also scored 33 points, which they have not done in most of their games this year.
Yeah, and I would love to know when the 3 and outs even started because the defense gave up after the first quarter.
Right.
So
all I'm saying is if we never punt, we're in great shape. Like that's what it feels like. The answer is.
It is funny too because
really interested to hear how Matt would try and thread this needle if Rodgers was still here about like, listen, it's not Joe Barry's fault because it's actually the offense's fault, but not Rodgers.
Right.
It's explicitly freaking Bo Melton because he's awful on that.
Right.
And where was Malik? It's also Aaron Jones.
We got to have Malik step up, man. Rookie undrafted free agent. He's got 1 catch. He's the reason we lost this freaking game. That's what I know.
And you know who else I'm mad at? Aaron Jones. Bum only carried the ball 4 times or 6 times. Come on.
Not enough.
We got to find a way to get Aaron Jones the ball more.
Can't just be sitting over here crying.
Do something about that.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, yeah, that was the gist of it. It was,
That's shocking. Now I'm getting angry. It's like I'm going to scrap this podcast and just go back and do that.
I just don't understand why we're constantly throwing everybody under the bus for a dude who's not going to be here in a month.
Well, probably.
Especially when it's now gotten so ridiculous. It reminds me of like the Aaron Rodgers thing where it's like, I don't know. I don't really believe it, but I don't really know. And I don't know that he's lying, but it's hard to know. And then he comes out with like well, I don't get cell reception, so I couldn't pick up the phone. It's like, okay, now you're just being an idiot. Now we've reached the level of you being like you're backed into the corner so bad that you're just a flat out lie. And like, you're not even trying to sound like you're actually trying to tell the truth here. That's where we're at with Matt LaFleur when we've gotten to the point where it's like, yeah, it's because, we punted a couple times. Okay, so you're not even trying to be serious anymore. That's great to know.
Yeah. And I tweeted a couple days ago or something that like when LaFleur was throwing everybody under the bus for Aaron Rodgers, it was frustrating to watch, but you could like do the mental gymnastics of understanding why Matt LaFleur would choose to do that, even if you didn't agree with his decision to do so. I don't understand throwing everybody under the bus for Joe Barry.
No, because the common refrain was, well, they're trying to keep his trade value up. And if he's the problem, then, whatever. It's like, I mean, that's kind of stupid. And I don't know that that's actually going to massively affect his trade value because people can see with their own eyes. But okay, I guess, like plus from a negotiating standpoint, you don't want to be like, yeah, we think he's the problem, and then come out and be like, no, he's awesome. Trust me, he's really good. So I guess I kind of get it, but I still think it's stupid. But yeah, now that you see this, it's like, I can't think of a single reason other than
why would you do
he's
it?
my friend and I'm ticked. And it's like, I'm going to get my friends back. And it's like, that is wildly unacceptable.
Well, I mean, and I think that's exactly what it is, because he wants Joe Barry to still have a job next year somewhere.
Right.
He wants Joe to go be somebody else's defensive coordinator or go back to being the linebackers coach for the Rams. That's what he wants for Joe Barry. And he wants that more than he cares about whether the locker room respects him. Which, I mean, I feel like we've all seen and heard the Devondre and Jair comments at this point. Like, and which reminds me of something else that ticks me off. If you say something like on Twitter, like, hey, a benefit to moving on from Barry right now would be that, like, you get the defense's heads back in the game for these last two games because, like, the locker room is a mess right now. And people come at you like, oh, you can't say that. You don't know that. You're not in the locker room. Like, guys in the locker room are talking. We hear what Jair is saying.
Right.
The locker room is in a bad spot right now.
It's simple enough to put the caveat of, okay, fine. If that's the issue, then he should be fired. If that isn't the issue, and we're all just hallucinating this right now, then maybe we don't have to do that. But I don't feel like we need to be having this conversation because it's stupid. But if that's your prerogative, then we can do that.
In the interest of feeling a little bit better over the last couple minutes of our stream here, Jordan Love's performance in this Panthers game was good enough that it lowered the bar for what he has to do in order to become the Bears' all-time passing leader in both yards and touchdowns.
There you go.
I think he only needs just one more touchdown. I think it's one more touchdown and like 270 yards over the next two games combined.
Wow.
Which is amazing.
Feel like we're going to get there.
The other thing, here it is. Here's the other one. It's Jordan Love has 7 games this season with multiple passing touchdowns and 0 interceptions. No one in the NFL has more. That's from NFL and CBS. Bears fan, top comment, at Bears fan for life 0, says, so what? With the 10 exclamation marks. I said, Justin Fields has 4 such games in his career. 0 in 2021, 3 in 2022. Hey, trending in the right direction. Oh, only 1 in 2023. Dang.
Well, it's funny because I saw, NFL Outdated. You've been on his show a couple times, right?
Yeah. Feisty dude. Fun and feisty.
He posted this, and it's like immediately just, you throw your head back, and it's like, there's no way that you don't see what's wrong with this. He posted this. It's games this season with 200-plus passing yards and 50-plus rush yards. Lamar Jackson with 5, most in the NFL. Justin Fields 4 in just 9 games.
Whoa.
And then his comment, which, I mean, that's dumb just by itself, but his comment on top of that was, Justin Fields can't throw, laughing face. And it's like, bro, that's a rushing stat. It's not just because you add passing into it doesn't mean it's a passing stat. 200 plus passing yards is irrelevant. Everybody does that in fact, it actually works against you because you're telling me that he's only done that 4 times. 200 plus passing. Jordan Love has only not thrown 200 plus passing yards 3 times this entire year. Like this is embarrassing that this is a thing. And on top of it, this is their only justification that number 1, he's a really good thrower, and number 2, he's in the same camp as Lamar. Like, no, he's one of the only 2 guys in this category because he's the only guy that runs for 50 yards this regularly.
Bro,
it's just a rushing stat.
It's worse. He has 6 games. Justin has 6 games this year where he meets that rushing stat, but 2 of them he fails to hit 200 yards passing.
Yeah, and he just it's so funny. Like they're trying so desperately to make this a thing. I mean, I'm even trying to be good about it. Like, look, Justin, I think is looking better, and I think the Bears are looking better. Their defense is looking better. The offense, like all this stuff's coming together, but you're still trying to like come up with fake stats to prove he's a good passer. And it's like, you got to stop. This is stupid. This is so dumb. Like, who gives a crap? Like, yeah, he and Lamar are the only 2 that have games with 200 plus passing yards and 50 rushing touchdowns because they're the only quarterbacks that do that with any regularity.
Last year, Justin had 10 games where he rushed for 50 or more yards. He cracked 200 passing yards once.
Right.
This is such an awful stat to brag about.
It's unbelievable. And again, like Jordan has not had a great year. Like it's been good. There have been some great things. It's been extremely up and down. And the reality is he didn't really hit his stride until week 9 of the season. Mm-hmm. And in that situation, with no weapons and no defense or anything else for that matter, in the first year doing all this stuff, with all the injuries piling up, he's going to break the Chicago Bears passing record, basically. Like, it's unbelievable how horrific the quarterbacks have been in Chicago.
I mean, so Jordan Love right now is 11th all-time Packers passer.
Yeah.
And, you know, like this season, you know, we have had fun watching him, but none of us are going like, oh, this is like a top season that we've ever seen a quarterback play for the Green Bay Packers. And he is, I think, number 2 right now behind just only who is there? This is any of the single season here. Single season passing had career. So Eric Kramer has 3,838 yards. Jordan currently has 3,587 yards. So that's less than 300 yards off. So if he just gets 150 yards in each of the next 2 games, boom. So he would be, as of right now, if he got abducted by aliens tonight, he would be the 5th. He would be the number 5 passer in Bears history, behind 3 Jay Cutler seasons and Eric Kramer.
You know what I love that I just realized? Jordan Love is very likely to do it. He's also extremely likely to do it against the Bears.
Yeah.
That's when it's going to happen. He's not going to do that against the Vikings. They have a very good defense right now. I don't think he's going to cover that.
I would like him to do it against the Vikings because then that's 16 games.
Fair enough. And I get the understanding behind that, but at the same time, it's still a metric you've never hit.
Yeah.
And it's still something that we've done in a down year. And plus, you also have had 17 games for a few years now with your early first-round pick.
With your wonder kid.
Where's your excuse for not So, I mean, I get what you're saying, but at the same
Justin
time,
Fields was a wonder kid.
It's still going to be something we can shove in their face on their field as, especially if we lose that game, then at least we'll have that to fall back on. Yeah, well, we broke the freaking record you can't have, so.
I thought Justin Fields was better than Jordan Love, but Jordan Love has beaten him in every single passing statistic this year.
Man, I wonder how good of a job Jordan Love would have done with DJ Moore. Maybe he should have come to Green Bay instead of Chicago, because obviously he's wasting the career of DJ Moore over there.
Prime.
Yeah. Wasting away with that garbage quarterback you got.
Soren Sodergren says one of Justin's 200-yard passing games came against Joe Barry. So he'll probably do it again.
He probably will, but
he probably will, yeah.
But like, what does that mean?
Right.
Bryce Young threw for 300, so cool. You got to 200, right, bro.
That's actually kind of a disappointment. If you
get on Bryce's level, yeah, get on Bryce's level, Justin.
Hey, we threw for 200 yards against you. Okay, Bryce Young threw for 312, and he sucks. He's the worst quarterback in football.
Yeah,
except for Justin.
Except for Tommy and Justin.
But Tommy's not a starter anymore, so he doesn't even count anymore.
Well, he did when he did a couple weeks ago.
He counted for 1 week.
He also counted. He technically counted this week because he started the same week Bryce started and threw for 300. So,
if Justin Fields was a Dunder Mifflin salesman, he would be Ryan. I just want to see, the scene where Stanley takes him out and they're all just laughing at him. Yeah. I just want to have like other NFL logos on those guys' faces, just or have like have all the young quarterbacks who are killing it. CJ Stroud, Jordan Love. They all just stand there, just laughing at Justin Fields.
And then the actual office clip we could do if he breaks the record, something to keep in mind, because you always got to create those things. Remember when they're driving back in the car with Stanley, and he's like, "You sounded like my niece, and she's 3 years old or whatever." Yeah. It's like you couldn't even break the record, or Jordan Love broke your record, and he's in his first year or something stupid like that.
Now, one thing I'm curious. I probably shouldn't look this up because it's going to make me mad. But I am curious how Brett Hundley's season compares to any of Justin Fields' seasons. Brett Hundley, 2017. How many yards did he have? Get out of my face, Pro Football Reference. I don't want to pay for your thing. So he didn't play the whole season. He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Why did he not play week 15 that year? I'm totally blanking. Did Rodgers come back for that game?
There was one time he did come back.
So that would have been it. And then he played the last 2.
Yeah.
So he played 10 games.
They were still in. And they lost the game. And they were like, it's fine. We'll just shelve it.
Yeah.
Brett Hundley tried to
got eliminated from the playoffs. Like, all right. Trot the young buck out there.
It was the worst thing of all time was watching Brett Hundley come back out again. Like, I thought this was finally over. So Justin Fields 2022. You just barely cracked 2,000 yards. Brett Hundley with 10 games almost got to 2,000.
Almost.
I think on a per game basis, it looks like Hundley actually had more. Well, so anyways, we have that, I suppose.
We got to get out of here. It's funny. I was looking at that. So I obviously commented, and we went back and forth a little bit. And you saw the comment because you whatever. But he said, "How do you do against the Broncos?" The next comment after that is from a Bears fan. Says, "Love is about to pass the Bears' single-season franchise passing mark in his first year as a starter. It's time we learn from Green Bay and stack our quarterback room with talent like they do." He's getting checked by a Bears fan talking about maybe you should shut your mouth and actually listen and watch what the Packers are doing. Which is
find
true.
This Bears fan's ad. I'm following this guy.
Right? It's @_CF playoff.
CF_CF playoff.
Yep. So like CFP playoff, whatever. _CF playoff.
All right.
Oh man, yeah. This guy's headline name is Nightmare Fuel. Nice.
Not sure I can follow him.
Not sure I can follow me. But you know what? See, this is the thing though. He's checking people on that, and he likes neighbors. So
right.
Dude's got it figured out.
He seems depressed, but he's a Bears fan, so that actually is completely appropriate.
Yeah. He's all in on Caleb Williams, which is funny because somebody just tagged me in something. Caleb Williams had a post from like 2017 where he's screaming like F yes, go Packers, go this, go that.
He's singling out all these players. Mason Crosby's the best, Aaron Rodgers the best.
So it's gonna be Mitch Trubisky all over again, where we come to find out like he's a huge Packer fan or something. So we're just gonna throw that in their face constantly. Like, dude, oh yeah, you got Caleb, like big Packer fan. Yeah, for sure. Good dude.
Yeah. I miss Mitch. I really do. I reminisce about the Mitch Trubisky days a lot. I wish they would come back. The Justin Fields days have been fun too, but more annoying.
A little bit, yeah.
And it's not Fields. Fields is not annoying. It's the way the fans talk about him has been more annoying than how they talked about Mitch.
Because they understood Mitch wasn't good and they didn't really like him. So it was just, you could just make fun of him and they'd be like, shut up. Whereas this is like, actually, he's really good because of these stats I made up. Like, oh, what are you doing? Shut up.
It's crazy.
We haven't brought this up, but a lot of people in Chicago are talking about coaching change. If that happens,
I don't want Eberflus. Their defense has been, it's heated up a little
bit. Look at
lately.
the explosive plays given up per game for the Bears in Green Bay. Playing a pretty similar schedule, it is ludicrous.
Where would you find that
margin is?
Explosive plays given up.
I'll find it.
I think their defense has kind of picked up the last couple of weeks too, hasn't it? Which I know he's been there for a while, but he's also the head coach. Yeah. I mean, plus he has no pieces whatsoever. There's nothing on that defense. They added like a guy this year, and as soon as they added him from Washington, suddenly their defense is better. But I haven't really considered it. But as I'm thinking about it, it's
that's 100% when it turned around. Yeah, Deron Payne, right?
Yeah. Well, who's the pass rusher they got? Edge guy,
Montez
Sweat.
Yeah.
Oh, when did? All right. So through 16 weeks, the Bears have given up 71 explosive plays. So that's a 10-yard rush and a 20-yard pass or more. So they've given up 71. Green Bay's given up 101.
Okay.
Green Bay's 31st. Chicago's 5th.
What site are you getting that from?
I'm getting it from Arjun Menon on Twitter.
So basically, it's kind of like Joe Barry, but he actually is good at doing the thing that he says he wants to do.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Because they aren't like tip top, right? They aren't like tip top in either rush or pass, but they're good in both.
Sure.
And so, the number, the accumulated number for both rush and pass explosive plays is really good. 1 less than the Niners, 2 less than Cleveland, who everybody loves. It's got less given up than Baltimore, who everybody heralds as, potentially the best defense in football. So, and I get it, Baltimore's played tougher games, but, again, 30 explosive plays is the difference on a fairly, pretty closely similar schedule. And,
it's a big deal.
We might actually get the change that many people are hoping for, which is back to a 4-3.
Be interesting. I have been thinking about the last couple of days that after the 2021 inaugural Joe Barry season, when we kind of had at least a crazy tear that the defense ended on, and he had that 49ers game where we basically just stuffed him the entire game. And I remember that the big talking point was like, hey, we're going to build around Joe Barry's defense. I mean, that was a huge thing, I remember. And we were talking about hey, with the talent we have, we're adding Quay Walker, which is the missing piece that Joe Barry needs. This is going to be a top 2 defense in the league. And they've basically never looked competent since.
Well, I will say it'll be nice to get away from a philosophy that says, we need to find the right linebackers to make this work, because I generally don't love the idea of building around linebackers for a defense with a linebacker-style defensive guy. I just don't feel like that there's a lot of successful defenses built around linebackers, but, whatever. What do I know?
Well, the other thing that I don't want to do, though, is I keep hearing safety-driven defense about a bunch of defenses that people are just pissed off at. Like,
Sure.
oh, I thought this was a safety-driven defense, but our safeties suck. So
I wouldn't want that either necessarily.
I just know I don't want a safety-driven defense because I'm just so tired of hearing that. Yeah, if we're supposed to be a safety-driven defense, then why can't we have good safeties? Like, all right, well, I'm guessing that there probably are some safety-driven defenses out there that are good, but I don't know of any.
Yeah, I mean, I think the issue is right when you started and said safety-driven defense, you screwed yourself, perhaps. But yeah, that might be sort of the thing.
Yeah.
Well, boys, we are past the 2-hour mark, so I say we wrap it up and get to bed. Any parting thoughts that we got to get off our chest before we say goodnight to the good comment section?
I have to pee. That's about it.
I don't see any comments relevant to that, but maybe
Oh.
that's one about the Bears having a good cornerback.
Okay, sorry. I just first thing that came to my head was the one thing that's been at the forefront of my mind for the last half hour.
It's fair. That's fair.
It's all the sparkling water is just, it's one of the drawbacks of slamming sparkling waters through a 2-hour podcast.
Yep.
Jake, can you walk us through the intricacies of Jerzon Newton right now?
Yeah, if you want
As
me
I
to.
freaking
Do you want me
sweat
to?
and twitch.
Yeah. All right. So let's see.
Ryan's
It'll take about 7 minutes. Is that okay?
we hear his energy drink cans rattling around the desk.
At some point, he just walks off. He's like, "You guys figure out how to end this thing. I ain't doing it."
Which is always the terrifying part because we don't have a button to end it. Only Ryan does.
I would just say that
I want to meet some wolves for this.
Watch the Texas defensive tackles if you want to get really excited about defensive tackle play. That isn't Jerzon Newton, who we've brought up a lot, obviously on these shows, the podcasts, all that. So that's all I got.
Oh, dang it! Come on. I sometimes find it funny to take completely random things like that and see what AI image generation will do with it.
Peeing your pants.
And it's not allowing me to
to
just generate an image that is peeing in your pants is the coolest, which I feel like is a little bit weak, but whatever.
Some of the things that the AI like blocks you from creating tick me off.
Yeah.
I think I did like Joe Barry looking scared or something like that. No, it was I think it was just like a 49ers fan looking scared or something like that, and they blocked it. They were like, "This sounds too violent." Okay.
It's my biggest complaint with AI isn't that it's going to kill us all. It's that it's a bunch of freaking sissies, honestly. Every AI I've ever used is the biggest pansy in the history of the world. Like, this thing is never going to kill me. I'm sorry. Maybe there's some new AI that's going to come along, but like if I told this thing I killed a fly, it would cry. That's all I know. Like, this thing isn't killing anybody. This is nothing like Terminator.
There's a guy in our well, it could be a gal, but I think it's a guy because all of our audience is guys.
Yes.
Somebody in our chat named Professor Cakes said, I think JJ loves Jerry Montgomery. And I tried to type some response to them about,
you did.
Like, I hate you, I'm going to kill you or something like that.
I know what you said. Yeah. Yep.
And the AI blocked me from putting that through. So I had to go with a much tamer response. It made me sad.
Yeah, that's too bad.
It was the second sentence for sure.
It was the second one that did it.
It's the second sentence. I know.
I said, shut up, Professor Cakes. I will cut you. And it blocked it. It said, this comment has failed to post to Packernet Podcast. Whatever. All right. That's it for us today. We'll be right back here next week. Ryan, enjoy your pee. Everybody else, follow us on Twitter @JJ Leahy, @Pack_Daddy, and @Jake NFL Draft. We'll see you next week. Go Pack, go.